questions that define us. It's what we do with the answers.
I am Lord. I am Peor.
Now pick up that brush, swing that hammer, fix what's broken.
So much better.
In 3, 2, 1.
Right, that's enough of all that. Thanks. Thank you. So, I'd love to talk. I don't want to play loads of work today. I get annoyed by those speeches where everyone just shows you a load of stuff you've already seen. I wanted to talk a bit about creativity and this, the power of creativity being the theme. This is the theme this year at Uncommon. And it's something we always really believed very heavily in. That we were going to do what we were going to do with or without our clients and with or without permission, really. And I'll return to this and talk about it a bit later. I found this, which I loved on the subject matter. I just want to read you this. I want to live the rest of my life, however long or short, with as much sweetness as I can decently manage. Loving all the people I love and doing as much I can of the work I still have to do. I'm going to write fire until it comes out my ears, my eyes, my nose holes, everywhere. Until it's every breath I breathe, I'm going to go out like a fucking meteor. I love that. When you talk about the power to create, I sort of think that everyone uses these words a lot. Creativity, we all use it a lot. And actually, how many of you here are creatives by your jobs or in what you do? A lot of you? Hands up if you're creative in some sense. Okay, wicked, good, right, this is for you. So, I think that the word creativity is a bit like the word hope, it's got soft. Say the word creativity to a client, and watch them sort of go, oh, fucking hell, here we go. Some clients here probably do. I think it's become a word unattached to money and real power, and I actually worry that it's become an indulgence, or a whim, or a fancy, and I think this is our fault. So this is my tack here, I think this is our fault. We all sit and we whinge, don't we, and we go about, why don't our clients make the work we want to make, and why aren't they creative, and why don't they recognize us? I want to start with this. What's really for sale in your agency? When people turn up there, what's really for sale? We all go, yeah, we're creative agencies and all that stuff, we're creatives. But when you think about it, there's a lot of language used in our industry now. Time, logistics, 360-degree thinking, data, assets, deliverables, content, trend, synergy, collaboration. None of these things are creativity. They're cool, but they're not creativity. So don't be angry if clients aren't coming to you for your creativity because it's not for sale. And I think that's something we all need to think about. What's really for sale in your company? And we get talked into it, we don't mean to. It starts in the very, very first meeting when we do new business, right? This is really interesting, which is the evidence of our beliefs is our work. It's a really posh way of saying, you go out there and you want to be creative. Is your work creative? Is the output powerful? Is it what you wish you were making? Because that's the proof of what you say. When you do a new business meeting, I don't know how true this is. This was my life at Grey. So at Grey, I used to run Grey. I just wanted to win as much as I could possibly win. And this is like a pattern of me. You're so desperate to win them, you forget to ask why they're there. Do you ever ask why a client came to see you? You jump straight in to why you're right for them, forgetting to ask if they're right for you. You say yes to every question. You already drop your price. You start thinking about what they want instead of what you do. You've already lost your factory. You pack your shit. This is done. But it dawned on me that this is true of so many agencies. That we sit and we don't ask why they came to see us. At Uncommon, we ask every client that walks through the door why they're there. And if they don't talk about a piece of our work or a thing they read, we tend to not work with them. Because it means they don't really want to make what we make. I don't know if this is useful, I'm just trying to give you some stuff that hopefully might remind you of the peril I think we're in. Really, I think creatives are probably our own worst enemy though, a little bit. And so, I'd like to unpack a little bit some bullshit pushed by creatives about creativity. The first is a lot of people say this, that creativity is a craft. That you need to retreat and twiddle your moustache, and we need an office, and we need beanbags, and we need space, and all that stuff. I worry about that. I don't think that's true. I think craft's a part of it. I don't think this is true. The other is that it's a haircut or a neck tattoo or a series of rings or really, really big jeans or something like that. This is the biggest load of bullshit. How much talk is there of needing bravery to be different? You need to be brave. How brave are you? Are you brave enough? Every client, right? Every client. My wife said this: bravery. Fuck off, Leonard. Firemen get to talk about bravery. You don't get to talk about bravery. You sell cheese. But it's true. My take on it is that actual creativity, real creativity, is a survival mechanic. Properly a survival mechanic. It's what we do as humans when bad stuff happens to us. It's what we do as brands when bad stuff happens to us. Think about any time you've been caught lying. What comes into your head, the most creative stuff you've ever imagined? I was over there because my nan had a problem with it. We just come up with madness. The truth is, it takes real shit sometimes to make the good stuff happen. Whack! Love that. So, examples in business, a bit closer to home, I'll give you some of these. Renting property, right? No one used to want to rent on holiday because our fear was we'd turn up and it would always look like this. And then Airbnb said, no, we're going to rock up and we're going to do it differently. They responded to a crisis, a threat, a mess, a frustration. The music industry was ripping everyone off. Do you remember it used to cost you £14 for an album? £14. Now Spotify have come around and now, arguably, discuss Spotify are the problem. And there'll be a new thing, right? Look at Kanye's thing, look at STEM, look at everything that's happening. Local taxis used to be disgusting and unsafe, so we invented Uber. And cable TV was drip-feeding content like a crack dealer. Do you remember you used to have to wait a week to see something? You'd watch one show and you had to wait another 7 days before they let you see the next one. What the fuck was that about? They'd already shot it. We know they've shot it. So this stuff is what I mean. There's a quote we love at Uncommon. We use it all the time. It's from Death of a Salesman. These are our creds. I'm showing you these in the hope that they might be useful. I'm not interested in stories about the past or any crap of that kind, because the woods are burning, there's a big blaze. In the book or the play, he yells it, like the woods are burning, and he wants them to feel the panic of the woods burning. We use it a lot in our creds because we really want to speak to clients who feel like this. And we really want to speak to creatives who feel like this. Because when clients feel like this, they're going to make some work that matters. They're going to make some stuff that's really different, they're going to take more chances. Because staying as they are is more dangerous than changing. That's what we worked out. Sometimes we can create a fake crisis in order to make that happen. This is the crisis our industry's in. I know everyone's wanged on about it, but, you know, 3/4 of brands could disappear tomorrow and no one would care. So 3/4 of brands could go off your phone, off your shelves, and no one would give a shit. That's amazing. In the middle, IKEA's head of sustainability said we've reached peak stuff. That means we have enough things. For the first time ever in the West, we're full. You know, and then lastly on the right, people are paying actual money to avoid what we spend our lives making. Actual money, guys. Paying money to avoid the ad industry. And so I think these are the woods burning in our industry. I think it's important. So Uncommon's view is this, that we're going to make brands that can make a difference like never before, partly because of this. These are brands that matter, brands that people in the real world wish existed. These brands are Uncommon, that's what we do. We don't just do that with our clients, though, we make our own. And this was the with or without you thing. A coffee we started at the same time as I started Uncommon, it's called Halo. It's a biodegradable version of Nespresso. And it exists because 13,000 Nespresso capsules go to a landfill every single minute. And so this felt like a thing that had to be in the world. I learned a lot from starting this. It looks like it's gone really well. There's a quote from GQ at the top, that business is a fucking howling mess. But it's real and it works and, you know, it's the first, I suppose. And this was our, I guess, response to the world. The capsule coffee market was average and killing the planet, so Halo. This all comes from one question that somebody asked me just before I started. It was a client. And they said, how do I go from being a company that sells crap to people to being a company that people wish existed? And I thought that was an amazing question. A company that people wished existed. And then I thought to myself, well, never mind you. How do I? Name an ad agency that the real world is happy exists. I don't know one. You know, I don't. No one, like your mum, your sister, your brother, name one that they go, oh, I love those guys. It's very rare. So that's, I guess, what we're trying to build. Rather than this thing we have at the moment, where we feel a little bit like a perverted advisor kind of whispering in our clients' ears, telling them to do Facebook advertising and things like that. Do some more problematic ads, things like that. It's quite weird. I'm not going to play you this. This is a piece of our work. Really, I'd like to talk about this. When you talk about the power of creativity, every single one of you would have a different version of what that word means. You know, every one of you would say, oh, it's this, it's that. And I actually think that sounds incredibly simplistic, but that's the problem. Is that not enough of us are clear about what we mean by that word. I worked out that the only way to get something across to people is to have a story. So this is, I think, the best story of creativity I've ever read. Does anyone know who that is? Anyone? Yell it if you don't. Yeah, okay, all right. You might have heard this before. Yves Klein is a badass, he's an artist. Back in the 60s, Yves was famous. He was like the dude at that point. He was like Jeff Koons is now. Everyone would go mad for his work. People would love him. You know, they'd queue around the block. Yves' thing was this colour. He invented his own colour called IKB, but it's the most azure blue, like crazy Majorelle blue. And he would paint things in it. He would cover things in it. You know, and people would love his work. They would go crazy for it. They'd queue around the block. Anyway, bigger and bigger and bigger, Yves does this stuff. And then he hosts this show in Paris called The Void. And everyone was super excited. They were like, oh my God, it's The Void. And everyone's outside, all these celebrities, everyone waiting. And they're all drinking. They've been given cocktails and everyone's getting pissed and they're all drinking away. And he's not let them in yet. And it's been 2 hours. 2 hours they're out there. And finally, person by person, he starts to let them in. And they're like, oh my God, finally. You imagine the excitement, but they're quite drunk, but the excitement. And they get let in here. And they're like, what? You've been waiting 2 hours. But they still go with it, right? And they're still being served drinks. And the guy goes, okay, you know, something's going to happen. The windows are going to fall in, the roof's going to cave in. Nothing. Just a white room. Nothing. So they keep drinking, and eventually, because they're all cool and celebs, they go, fuck this, I've had enough. They go, arrogant bastard, had us there, had us waiting, didn't do anything, no blue, nothing. And they all go, they leave, and they go back to their hotels and back to their homes, absolutely drunk, really knackered, a bit like you guys later. And then they literally, just before they go to bed, they go to the toilet and they have a piss and this happens. And they're like, oh my God. Can you imagine? It'll blow your fucking mind. I love this story. You know, he'd been lacing the drinks all night with the blue. Now there's no social media then, there's no like, oh my God, hashtag tweet, Insta, something. Nothing, man, nothing. But this story exists because it was insane. I think this is what it's all about. This is my version of events, but I would urge you to find yours. So you know how to communicate what you mean by creativity, so it's dangerous to you. The other thing, I guess I've realized, is that you're all sat there going, oh my God, I'd love to do something like that. I certainly would. I think we all lie a bit to our dreams. So I think we're very good at saying to our dreams, the ideas we have, maybe not now. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. Maybe I don't quite have enough money, or I don't quite have enough freedom, or I haven't learned enough. And we tell ourselves these stories. More often than not, we're really scared. And I sort of thought this was interesting. Think of any really amazing person you know who's made a leap. You know, the heroes of our world right now. They all started out and everyone thought they were mental, basically. This is true, everyone goes through this, and the fear of that, I think, is the thing. And then there's a bit, my favourite bit is the bit here where they go, you're arrogant. You're arrogant enough to assume that you might be able to change things or do it differently. And of course, I also think that there's a bit where the journey, and then there's a tipping point, and then they're brave, and then suddenly they're an innovator, and then we all love them and they're fine. But I think this journey is one you've got to face down if you're going to go and do something different, creatively, even in your company. How many times in your company have you heard, oh God, they're so arrogant, they think they can do these things. We're really bad with each other sometimes. There's another thing I think is really, really important about creativity, which is agencies are so good at doing this. I've had an amazing idea. Who can I get to make it for me? Artists don't do this. You know, we don't sit around dependent and look for partners to do it for them. Daniel Ek has this saying, he's the guy started Spotify, that the value of a company is the sum of the problems it solves. I just thought that was an amazing sentiment. The value of a company is the sum of the problems it solves. When we did Uncommon, I was really trying to find a way for us to matter. And if we want to matter, we have to solve problems, I suppose. So a lot of our work, we try and do that. Some cynics say, like, why should you try and sell the world? You just make fucking advertising. We're not trying to save the world, but we are trying to matter. What dawned on me, though, is the value of a person is also the problems they solve. In your company, you know, as a person in humanity, how are you adding? Are you contributing or are you a passenger? You know, I think that's a really powerful sentiment. When you're young, this is the diagrams of all the apps you know how to use. When you're young, and you're a placement, you can do everything. You can edit, you can code, you can illustrate, you can take photos, all the way down to make a cup of tea at the bottom, which happens far too much. And if you notice, the more senior we get, particularly as creatives, we all want to step back from the tools. We don't want to, you know, we think it's somehow immature to keep working or keep our hands on the tools. To the point where we become an ECD or even worse, a CEO, and all we can do is fucking email and take photos. This is about dependency though. Because think about the people that can only do that. How many other people do they need to go and make something? And that's something we should all be worried about. We've lost our power. We've lost our ability to make. So that's what this is all about. For me, creativity is about the power you have to go and make things for yourself. We have been tricked and betrayed by ourselves, really, into believing that we need others and that we should ask permission. How many times you heard a client, you know, or even worse, a creative say, oh, I was going to do this thing and I was asking the client and a year later they said yes. Like you asked permission for a year to make something. And I think there's something powerful about that. This is something we made for the first day of spring. This is very, very small. It's with over 1,000 flowers. It's called Dear Winter. And we didn't do it for any other reason than we wanted to. We knew we had a gallery space in Jealous Gallery in London. But I'm just showing you this because 3 people basically put it together. First day of spring, it made its way, had about 500,000 views of a film. And it made its way into an art gallery and then it was on the cover of the art magazine. So this sort of stuff's powerful. The reason I really show you this is I think it taught a lot of our people that we didn't need, you know, clients to go and make things. That we didn't need permission. That we were a studio that could just go and do that. And that's very liberating. I'd like to talk about this. When we're really good in this industry, at our best, we make things famous. It's what we do. And I don't think we think hard enough about who we're making famous. Do they deserve it? Do they deserve your attention and your energy? Because it's hard, isn't it? We work our asses off, right? We work really fucking long hours. And I would like to ask that question. I don't know how many of us think about that. Uncommon take it very seriously. There are certain clients we won't work with, certain briefs we won't do. Really nearing the end now, we can all go and have a beer. Truthfully, as a load of talk of this, what's the brand's purpose? A lot of people ask that question. What is this brand's purpose? I really care much more about yours. I don't think we all take it personally enough. Creativity is not this distant word that we use to describe a job box in our timesheets. It's how you live or not. And it's whether the work you make matters. And I think that's so, so important. I think we can print the posters that we wish we could steal. I think we can shoot the films you wish you could watch, create the brands you wish existed, and make the industry you wish you worked in. That's the lesson. It's on you to do that, and I think it's a really beautiful sentiment if you can realise it. I'm going to round out with this one thing. Everyone talks a lot about careers. The reason we don't change things is our career. You know, I've done very well, I've worked my way up, and I'm worried about my career. I have advice from Noel Gallagher for you on that. I guarantee you this, the Stone Roses never mentioned career in any band meetings ever, or Primal Scream, or The Verve. Oasis certainly never mentioned it. I bet it's mentioned a lot by managers and agents now. Don't do that, it's bad for your career. What? Fuck off. Like when we went to the Brits and we won all those awards and we didn't play, the head of the Brits said, "This will ruin your career." Fucking wow, I said to the guy. Do you know how high I am? You know he's going to ruin my career. Me, not you, bellend. More champagne. Fuck off. Thank you.